And I want to bring in Hugh Hewitt now, host of the Hugh Hewitt Show on the Salem Radio Network and an MSNBC political analyst. Great to see you, Hugh.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving week to you.
Happy Thanksgiving week to you. So much to chew over on this Monday morning. Let's start off with some of these high-profile meetings that we saw over the weekend. Perhaps the one that's getting the most attention, his meeting with Mitt Romney, of course, one of his former rivals. I want to play you a little bit of sound from Mitt Romney and then get your reaction on the other side.
We had a far-reaching conversation with regards to the various theaters in the world where there are interests of the United States of real significance. We discussed those areas and exchanged our views on those topics.
Hugh, what do you make of this meeting? There are so many Republicans who say Mitt Romney would be fantastic. He would balance things out a little bit, particularly when you have a Steve Bannon in the West Wing. Do you think Mr. Trump is seriously considering him?
Oh, I do, because Vice President-elect Pence said as much about the President-elect yesterday. It would be a bold and strategic move. Kudos to both men for putting aside the hammers they threw at each other during the campaign to sit down and talk about America's position in the world. They're both patriots, and I believe that Doris Kearns Goodwin, when she wrote Team of Rivals, not only impacted the Obama administration, but may have impacted the Trump administration. So I think it was a very good move. I have no idea whether the offer is going to be accepted or extended or anything like that, but just the optics were terrific for both men.
I think that there's broad agreement about that, and Mr. Trump is meeting with another former rival today, former Texas Governor Rick Perry. I went back to kind of reread some of the comments that Rick Perry had made about Donald Trump during the campaign. At one moment, Hugh, he called him a cancer on conservatism. How do you bury the hatchet when the rhetoric gets that heated?
Well, you know, Ted Cruz showed the way on this, Kristen. He was the first of the former rivals to actually meet with President-elect Trump, and I think Senator Cruz did a very good thing in showing and modeling how to do that. And, of course, Governor Romney has followed Governor Perry. It's very important in American politics that people do this, because campaigns are nasty, brutish, and long now. So it's very important, and as former rivals show up, so too will there be a look for people in the Democratic Party to serve and to be a part of the team. There are 4,000 appointments, and there's a deep bench on the Republican side and the nonpartisan side. You think about people like Stanley McChrystal and General Mattis and General Allen. There are people who are nonpartisan, so Democrats, nonpartisans, former Republican rivals, as well as Trump supporters, all are making themselves available to the president-elect, and that's a good thing.
Let me ask you about General Mattis, because he is getting a lot of attention. President-elect Trump over the weekend was praising him, saying he's the real deal. This is someone who has a stellar reputation in the military. Do you think he's going to be the next Secretary of Defense? Do you think he should be?
I hope so. I think he would be an amazing choice. He would definitely elevate the spirits of everyone from Chief of Staff Joe Dunford, who's widely admired in the civilian and military communities, all the way down to the person who just enlisted in the military. He's got an amazing reputation as a scholar. He's at the Hoover Institution now. He's completely apolitical. It's very frustrating to me. I've been trying to book him on the radio show for like 10 years, and he won't have anything to do with media, but he is an incredible intellect. And I think when you're looking for a strategist with real experience, CENTCOM commander, theater commander, all sorts of different things, General James Mattis is an ideal choice. And I think all of those former generals, I mentioned Stanley McChrystal, John Allen, there are lots of them who would bring back to President-elect Trump, as would Mitt Romney and John Bolton and a bunch of these other people, K.T. McFarland, Kelly Ayotte, even a youngster like Will Hurd, who's a congressman from Texas. He's a 9-year CIA veteran. The more you find people who've been on the front lines, like Mike Pompeo going to the CIA, the better off your administration.
If anyone can book him, you can, Hugh. I have complete faith you're going to get him. Let me shift over to President-elect Trump's business dealings. As you know, there have been some questions raised. He met with 3 executives who work at his Trump properties in India. He also had his daughter sit in on a meeting with the Prime Minister of Japan. The Trump team has said, hey, look, we are taking a hard look at this. We are going to deal with this. Ultimately, there's not going to be any blurred lines. But I wonder if you think that they should have put these questions to rest already by the transition so that they wouldn't be hovering over it as they are right now.
No, I don't think so, Kristen. I'm a veteran of the White House counsel's office. I worked for Fred Fielding and Dick Hauser back in the day in the Reagan years. They're complicated questions when anyone enters government. And President-elect Trump was very sort of superstitious, like a baseball player, and not confronting issues you won't have to deal with until you have to cross that bridge. I have on my website Trump Turnberry, which is one of the great golf courses in the world. I don't expect him to sell Trump Turnberry. I also don't think it's going to be a conflict of interest when he plays with a Turnberry bag, if he plays golf as the President of the United States. He's going to probably pick a guy named Don McGahn. I don't know Mr. McGahn. He's a Jones State partner in Washington, D.C. I know of his reputation, which is like Fred Fielding's, brilliant. And these are complicated issues. The President-elect is not subject to the ethics laws. I think you had Governor Levitt on earlier talking about this. But he doesn't want his business partners or his children enmeshed in the conflict of interest laws, which would apply to everyone doing business with the government. So I think Mr. McGahn, or whoever serves as White House counsel, has a huge and complicated task, but one that they get the 60 days to figure out, not the 6 hours that most in the media gave them.
Very quickly, Hugh, before I let you go, as you know, we saw another tweet storm over the weekend. Mr. Trump going after SNL for and also Hamilton because of some of the cast members sending a message to Vice President-elect Mike Pence. Is it time for him to put away the Twitter? I mean, it doesn't seem like he's going to give it up altogether, but should he stop these tweet storms? Does it undercut his seriousness at this moment?
You know, Kristen, I am of two minds of this. On the one hand, it's easy if he does stop it. On the other hand, I love Twitter, right? I was tweeting out bad reviews of Billy Lynn's long halftime walk and my poor Browns going 0-11 over the week. It's fun. It's a hobby. As a president, you've got to be careful about moving markets and destroying reputations. But as a hobby, as something that's fun, as a means of engagement, I'm not ready to say that the social media era ought to exclude the president. I just think he has to think through it. And indeed, he's right. It's the thing. When he talked to 60 Minutes, it is the thing. He talks to millions of people, and it's repeated. Ronald Reagan and Mike Deaver devised a way to dominate TV. I think he's going to devise a way to dominate social media.
Hugh Hewitt, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much.